Get started. Thank you everybody again for making the time to join us. I don't know if Tracy is gonna come in or not. She says she was traveling, but if she comes in, obviously this is an area that she also loves, so I would love to bring her in and share a few things about her property as well. So you guys all know Jonathan. I don't know if you wanna
Yes,
introduce
I'm gonna
yourself.
introduce myself for like the.
Let me get this.
So yes, I work with Life Beyond the Room now. Now it's 3, 4 year we are working together. I'm the creative director, so almost all the picture you can see on the social media and all the video are from me, and also help Karen to find a new experience in Italy. So that's the reason why I'm also here because I had the opportunity to travel a lot around Italy. So I try to bring my knowledge and my experience here.
You're a little bit of a jack of all trades. You facilitate,
Yeah,
you
also,
do
yes,
groups,
and
and
also, yeah, I facilitate a lot of group trips. So, yeah, I'm doing a lot of stuff here. So,
Great. So again, very briefly, I know most of you already know us, so I will spare you. I recognize all your names, so I will spare you this. You guys know who we are and you know how we work. We're a turnkey DMC, so of course we love, as if you've had experience working with us, we love providing the entire itinerary. Of course, accommodations can be the exception to that, especially if you have some trusted partners that you've already been to. But as you guys know, we place a huge emphasis on research and development, and we vet every single hotel, every single accommodation and experience then that we present in an itinerary. So that's very important to us. And of course, we offer the kind of 24/7 local management during the client's trip. Yeah, we're here for you. If you also charge a planning fee to your clients, just because we're a small team, so every request that we get, we take very seriously. We pour our heart and soul into it. So it's nice to know that the client is committed to you. And of course, a minimum budget of 10K, you all know that that doesn't take very far these days. So we will probably be changing that to maybe 15 USD because also the exchange rate does not help us sometimes. And then, of course, if you value sustainable travel and if you like to plan ahead, I'm sure that you may be experiencing this now of getting kind of into the last minute request, which is, of course, something that we can do. But as you know, we work with very small boutique properties. So a lot of the times, it's harder to secure last minute availability for those. So thank you for sitting through that time and time again. Let's talk about this region, which is a really amazing area, and you guys all know it. And the last few years, we've been getting quite a few requests for this region. And so, like I said, also with Tracy, we've invested a lot of time going there and meeting new partners. And so we're very excited to share with you this concept also of slow food and fast car, which is very, very tied to Emilia-Romagna. Obviously, you know, it's very rare that clients fly into Bologna, but just know it is an option. Otherwise, of course, getting there by train, it's very convenient. It's an hour also from Milan, much faster by train from Milan than it is by car. You'll see it's about double the time, and approximately an hour and a half from Florence. So it is very accessible. The Bologna train station is my worst nightmare. It's the worst train station of all time. So the only thing that
2 floors, so it's very easy to lose yourself. Yeah.
yeah. The only thing that we don't recommend is if you have clients that have to take a connection, if they have to change a train in Bologna, I would allow for at least 30,
minutes.
45
Yeah.
minutes because you see your platform and you're like, how do I get to that platform? It's like you gotta go take the elevator and just, yeah, it's very complicated. So um, great. And again, we kind of always like to give a snapshot of what we think. And again, this is not absolute truth, but what we think to be, you know, some of the peak seasons, of course, June through August. And here, compared to some other regions of Italy that, you know, are much more, they see much more mass tourism versus Emilia-Romagna, even May, you know, April and May and September and October, which we may not recommend for other areas that are much more visited, those are good time to visit Emilia-Romagna. And of course, to avoid the crowds, November, even December, because most things are open in December, the hotels start closing in January and February. Those are also great time to visit. And even March, we were just there a couple of weeks ago, and
Yes.
it was nice. I mean, of course, don't expect.
Region is famous for engine and like cheese and prosciutto, so they produce this kind of stuff all
Oh,
year
yes.
round. So
So, a quick snapshot. I guess you can see this message, right? Okay. hope you can see the whole screen, but a quick snapshot of kind of the evolution of tourism in Emilia, because obviously it's much more recent than other places in Italy. So, pre-1950s, not Bologna, Emilia-Romagna was this region that was a passageway because the ancient Via Emilia was almost a pilgrimage route that connected cities like Bologna, Modena, and Parma. And the food culture was it was always good because the food has been made for generations, but it was mostly local. There wasn't a lot of tourism for food yet. And then, of course, between the 1950s and 1980s, there was this huge rise of gastronomy. So they started getting recognized for their aceto, their vinegar and their parmesan. But people still did not travel here for food. It was known within Italy, but not really globally. And it was really in the 1980s and 1990s that the slow food philosophy, thanks to Carlo Petrini, who started the slow food movement in Rome as a response to kind of the McDonald's and the fast food chains opening. That was in 1986. That was when really the food from the region started to be recognized, not just among Italy, but internationally. And then, of course, 1990s, 2000, you have the Moro Valley that emerges. And then really from the 2000 on is when the Food Valley really became known for the food. Before this time, it wasn't really called the Food Valley. This was a branding, and it's funny, it came actually from Silicon Valley, California, but it's really what put this region on the map for specifically food. And of course, now it's become a global destination. Want to talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, so Emilia-Romagna, most of the people think when you think about food, you mostly think about Sicily and other places, but Emilia-Romagna, yeah, a huge different. I mean, they have a lot of different dishes and like, different. How do you call that? Prosciutto, Parmigiano. Yeah,
I mean, some of the most
yeah,
iconic foods that you find all over Italy, right? They come
they
from
come
this
from
region.
there. So what makes this region very impressive? It's like it's not that big, but in all the area they produce a lot of different things. So they produce the mostly I think it's the one
On the
after.
slide after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they produce the Parmigiano Reggiano, the famous one, the cheese. After we're gonna talk the difference between Parmigiano and Grana, the ham, the prosciutto di Parma, is very good. I mean, most of the people try to sell you the true prosciutto di Parma, but there is some specific way to produce it. And the aceto balsamico, it's one of my favorite stories because it's very based on family and like on tradition, because after we're gonna tell you the story, but it's a very one of my best story in Italy, and the famous mortadella. So it's from Bologna because it's born in Bologna, so that's the reason why. And the wine, it's not a very famous region for wine, but they produce this particular wine. It's a red sparkling red wine who's I like
It's
it.
kind of weird the first
But
time you're
like,
tasting a
yeah,
sparkling red wine,
yeah,
but
it's very different from the other wines. And the Grana Padana I told you before.
so Parmigiano, obviously, you guys all know it, and we can't even just call it Parmigiano. We have to specify that it's Parmigiano Reggiano because there is a difference between Parmigiano Reggiana and Grana, as you may have noticed, maybe even in your grocery stores, they're different in price as well. But like Jonathan was saying, between the balsamic vinegar and the Parmigiano, those are probably the two most long-standing, foods that we're so proud about as Italians that come specifically from these regions. And they're made with just a couple ingredients, milk, salt, and natural rennet. So there's different aging that we're gonna see in a
I
minute.
can say something. So for the Parmigiano Reggiano, the amazing story, it's like you have to wait 1 year to
At least,
call
yeah.
yes can call this cheese Parmigiano Reggiano, because after 1 year there is a commission special one who they come and shake the cheese to make sure it's a true Parmigiano Reggiano DOP.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've had clients or you've had the opportunity to visit this region, there is unfortunately, I don't want to call it a sad reality, but Because, part of it is good and part of it is bad. Because obviously it wasn't sustainable for a lot of small farmers to make Parmesan cheese. I mean, you got to have the whole, production. It's quite laborious also in terms of equipment. Most of the times now you find cooperatives, which means it's farmers, they have the animals, they're selling the milk, right? There's about 300 dairies, I think 330, something like that in the region, and most of them, 70 to 80%, are cooperatives, which again, on one hand, they're owned by the farmers, right? It makes a lot of sense for economic reasons. But on the other hand, it's harder to trace it. Of course, it still has to be made within, that certain region, but a lot of them are not organic, so it's hard to know what's being fed, to the cows. And only about 20 to 30% of caseifici, they still remain privately owned. And even less than that have a close filiera, which means they have from the animals to to making the wheel, right? And of course, that means that it's more niche, it's more artisanal, it's more traceable, exactly where everything comes
Yeah,
from.
and when the travelers do the experience, they see the animal who literally produce the milk and see what the animal produce. So it's a very nice experience.
Yeah. And then again, only about 8% of them are certified organic, which, of course, with the aging, right, we're not going to be sticklers, oh, we only work with organic places, because, of course, the aging can help. But it's nice to know, like I said, what the cows are eating and what's ultimately ending in the cheese. And you can truly taste if you take the same piece of Parmigiano Reggiano from an organic dairy and a non-organic, you can taste the difference in the cheese. So if you ever have an opportunity to do that, it's quite an experience. You want to talk about the difference between the DOP and the
I'm
ADP?
gonna let you.
Great. So again, just like we'll see with the aceto balsamico di Modena, just because you see Parmigiano doesn't mean that it's the true authentic one. And of course, both DOP and EGP are Parmigiano, but the DOP has a much stricter process and regulations. It's only made in this one specific region versus the EGP is made across 5 different regions of northern Italy. So
So if you can choose, it's better DOP than EGP.
Yeah, of course.
Everything.
Yeah. And it's also a lot more expensive. And in the case of the aceto balsamico, an EGP, which is usually, if they don't pass the test for the DOP, then they make it into EGP. And most of it is still good and locally made. But sometimes, especially, the things that you find abroad, EGP means that only one step of the process.
So maybe the grape are not from Modena, but other place.
And literally what they told us is even if they just put the tag in Modena, they call it EGP.
Yes.
Even if the entire product has been somewhere else, right? Which was like, oh, okay, well now
if you put
the logo
in the bottle, it's like one stage. That's make no sense.
Exactly. So this is
so this is the fun fact. I love it. So like Italians are strange. So we used to have to use the cheese like money. So we if you have una toma, what do you call toma in English?
Wheel.
A wheel of cheese, you can go to the bank and ask for a loan and give the cheese for guarantee. This is, I think, one of the unique place in Italy where you can do something like that, and I think it's amazing because what you need to know it's about we forgot to say something. The Parmigiano Reggiano, what's making him very incredible, it's never pass away, non scade.
Yeah, it never goes bad.
Yeah, it's never go bad. So that's mean with time
it's stronger and stronger and stronger.
The value grows. So it's like the money. So that's why whole bank accept this kind of payment or guarantee.
Yeah. There's some pretty expensive wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano, but now
almost spoil everything from here.
Yeah, and like I was saying, the difference between Parmigiano Reggiano and Grana, also the fact you can see it again in the price, which is about 5 euros per kilo more, which is quite a lot if you think about how small a kilo can be, is that Grana is made in a much larger area of northern Italy across 5 regions. It's made in Lombardia, in Veneto, in Piemonte, and also in Trentino Alto Adige, actually. So it's obviously, much wider area.
Also, the other difference, it's like the Parmigiano can be eaten after years and Grana Padano no. And this difference is because what they give to the cow to eat.
Yeah.
That's from here, so they changed the milk. So that's the reason why the milk for Parmigiano Reggiano it's a little bit more special because it preserves the cheese after.
Yeah. And even though Parmigiano Reggiano can be, like you were saying, sold at 12 months, that's when they get the actual stamp. Most places, will do the 24 months, the 36 months, and you really don't want to waste Parmigiano Reggiano almost like as an ingredient with other thing. You want to enjoy it on its
Yes.
own with cheese, with jams. Versus Grana, it's more your everyday, like on top of pasta. It only has to age for 9 months. So
Remember,
obviously
pasta with meat, but not fish. Never put cheese with fish, please. No, it's important.
also coming from a guy who doesn't eat fish and apparently is allergic to all fish, but that's a story for a different day.
This is another story.
Yeah.
Another webinar.
Yeah. So yeah, the balsamic vinegar, again, another one of the incredible products, which when I discovered about the IGP, and especially when I was living in the US, I was like, are you telling me that when I bought the bottle at the grocery store, it could have been that they just put the label on in Modena? And unfortunately, that's the sad truth. And also here, there's two different kinds that I think are coming on the next slide. But if you see some ultra age bottles, can go for like 1,000 or more euros per, 3.4 ounces, like very tiny. So
yeah, but maybe the difference between the vinegar, the aceto balsamico, it's like the one you find in the store, it's more liquid. This one, when it start to be old, start to be like very dense.
thick, yeah.
So it's a drop by drop.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you have that very expensive 1,000 euro bottle, you're only using one drop every time you're using it. And yeah, the difference again between the DOP and the EGP, also the type of ingredients, right? Like in the EGP, they put the wine vinegar plus the grape must, versus in the DOP, it's only the cooked grapes and there's no additives. The aging is quite different, 60 days versus 12 years.
Yeah, can you imagine if you start the business now, you can start to have money like before 12 years. That's crazy.
Even then, let's face it, nobody becomes an aceto balsamico, not farmer, but like producer, right? Usually it's generational, it's a family
It's
thing.
a family story, and this is one of the best story you can have in Emilia-Romagna. I think we're gonna talk about this later, but trust me, that's an amazing story.
So again, I'm not gonna read all the bulleted points, but they're here for you to look at them, and of course we'll send the recording. So okay, let's switch to the fast cars part, and then we'll kind of bring it all together. So
that's funny because in Emilia-Romagna you have all these productor, and everyone is very close. Like in 30 minutes you can be in each one, and it's not only cars; it's also bike and motorbike. So it's very impressive because like they are one of the best product you can have in Italy. I mean, Maserati, Ferrari, Lamborghini, they talk from themselves. I don't think they need presentation.
okay, and then guys, I really want to be honest with you. I don't know Massimo Bottura personally, so he hasn't paid me for this. I have stayed at Casa Maria Luigia and I've seen him come by, but I don't know this guy personally. But he is really the guy that almost coined this concept, or I don't want to say coined, but bridged together those two worlds of the fast cars and slow food. Because I'm sure, as all of you know, he's one of the 3 Michelin star chefs in Italy, and obviously a car enthusiast. His story is quite unique, and I think also we're going to talk later about Casa Maria Luigia. But he brought those two worlds together, and he also has, which I'll show you on this next slide, a really great nonprofit that I think it's a really cool experience also to incorporate from the volunteering perspective, because obviously this is not something that's open for tourism unless you really want to, do something good and volunteer. But basically, Massimo recognized that there's so much waste, in the gourmet food, the Michelin world. So he's taking that waste, he's taking things from supermarkets, from producers, and he's turning it into this amazing, I don't want to call it, it's not a soup kitchen, it's more literally a community kitchen. When people are served by those chefs, they sit at a table. It's not like a line like your typical soup kitchen. So Obviously, Massimo is Massimo, but I think that no matter the reason for which he did this, it's something really amazing that it's bringing that value of good food and making it accessible to everyone. So if you ever have the chance, it's a really, really great initiative. And guys, I didn't mention this, but if you have questions, the Q&A should be working, so we'll try to pay
Yeah,
attention to
just
it.
maybe miss something about the fact, like we were talking about the
Well,
cars, but the amazing thing here in you can have a car experience, and in the between you can have a food experience.
yeah,
This is very truly impressive experience to have.
I miss my, okay, there you go. Great. So let's start talking about some of the cities and some of what may be, good home bases for your clients. Obviously, Bologna, we consider it to be the heart of Emilia. One of the coolest things about the city are the covered porticos, about 60, over 60 kilometers, which means that also in winter, when it's raining and sucky, like I've been there plenty of times in the winter, and literally I could go around the city and never get wet because those porticos, you can literally explore the whole city. And obviously, there's some really beautiful, iconic monuments as well that are worth exploring. So Bologna, it's really beautiful. I don't know if I should choose, Bologna versus Modena, because obviously Bologna is much bigger than Modena. So maybe depending on the length of stay, that could be a good consideration, and how much your clients are willing to explore
It also depend of what kind of experience
yeah.
you want to have.
Absolutely, because of course we always try to hyper localize everything when we choose an accommodation. So if we stay in Bologna, we don't want to drive, an hour across town to get to one of the food experiences. So of course, Modena has a lot of producers, at least producers that we partner with within close proximity, like 15 to 20 minutes from the city. Bologna maybe, 35 to 40. So it's still very accessible, but I think it's important to differentiate the towns and choosing the right home base for the clients. I'll give the food to you because you're just like so.
So the tortellini, so they are famous. This is one of the iconic Italian dishes, and they're from Emilia-Romagna. Most of the time, people just forgot about Emilia-Romagna. But if you go there, like every place, you have the oddio, brodo. What do we call the
Broth.
broth?
Yeah.
They are famous. They are not in some place they still continue to make it by hand. That's the important thing. And I mean, it's easy. It's pasta with meat inside, so that's very good.
Yeah. And tortellini in brodo,
Oh,
those are of
and
course
not cream, please. No. Panna cream, no.
I mean, if you're gonna do something different, right, then just make it different. But tortellini in brodo, if you're looking for that typical representation of Bologna and of course of Emilia at large too, I think it's
Don't
important.
kill Italian culture, please.
He feels very strongly about it. Great. Do you want to talk about the wine?
So yes, so the wine. What is important to understand is when you are in Modena, they produce the aceto balsamico. Aceto balsamico, it's made by grape. So there is more production of aceto balsamico in Modena, and for the wine, it's more about the region of Bologna, more in the south. They are not very famous for the wine, but they produce this wine, the Lambrusco, and we have a couple of partners who they have very good story, and the fact that they have this amazing food, you can have a truly amazing pairing with the food. So that's
Yeah, and I think too the Colli Bolognesi area, it's a really interesting area. We have this partner, Cantina Manaresi, which you can see actually on a clear day, you can see the Dolomite Mountains. So
yeah.
especially when the clients are first arriving to this area, I think this is a really good introduction just for the landscape and being able to say, okay, here's Bologna, here's Modena, right? That direction is Parma, here's Venice and the Dolomites in the distance. So I think it can give a really great overview. Meanwhile, drinking great.
Start with wine. It's always a good way to start the trip in Italy.
Yeah. And it's very important. The wine and balsamic productions do not mix. So anybody that has vineyards, which most of the acetaie do, they cannot also make their wine. In fact, some, if they have access grapes or do want to make the label of wine, they'll send their grapes somewhere else because they just don't go together. So yeah, this is a very beautiful estate, owned and operated by a husband and wife. And like I said, the setting couldn't be more stunning. It's not your Tuscany wineries that they're all set up with the
Yes, it's very
glass, and
different.
it's very local, it's very down to earth, but it is beautiful. And just the grounds, the properties, learning about the story of the family, it's a really great experience. So highly recommended as a good overview. And the wine is actually quite good. So great. I am going to bring in
We
one of
have
our
surprise, guys, for
we're
you.
surprised. We have one of our local managers who
Okay, she's
oh,
on.
perfect.
I have the video on. I don't know if they can hear me well, so maybe it's better if I turn on my microphone.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you can turn off yours. So, hi guys, I'm Carolina. I'm one of the local manager at LBR, and usually I focus my work more on the northern part of Italy, but I live here near Karen, so near Rome. So I've been in this place in the past few months. It was September, and I meet the owner, Ida. She's a very lovely lady, and you can really grasp her style throughout the accommodation. The accommodation is actually an apartment, so it's truly a boutique experience. They have only 6 rooms, so sometimes you can get the place all of your own. Also, if you book just one room, the service is amazing. They have a beautiful breakfast room. And they provide all typical food for breakfast. There is an amazing service, and Ida always asks their family to help when you arrive. So there is a very welcome experience. You feel like you are like a host in a home in the center of
Do they
Bologna.
give the tortellini for breakfast?
I don't think so.
I'll add one quick thing there if you just want to mute it for a
Yeah.
second. Okay, great. So one quick thing about this place. I don't know about you guys, but I've been to several Bologna hotels and they're just not the same level as some other areas in Italy. If you disagree with me and have one, please let us know. We're all ears. But this one is new, so it opened actually last October, I believe. And it's quite beautiful and actually quite expensive. Like rooms can go for like 600 to 800 a night. But again, the curation of it all, it's what makes, and of course the fact that you get to meet the owners, it really makes it special. The owner Giuliana, she's a landscape designer with a passion for hospitality. So you can see there's a lot of plants, and it's a space that's really infused with a lot of personality. So rooms are very like natural, with natural colors, accented floral wallpapers. And so again, it's small, but it really, so far from what we've been able to find, it's really one of the best options in Bologna.
I think okay. Yeah,
Did you mute yourself?
Yes, I'm muted. This other one, Casa Conoscenti, is always in the city center of Bologna. Again, it's a super boutique accommodation because they have only 3 rooms. The owner is originally from Puglia, and before she was in a totally different business. She was like in finance, but she had this amazing idea to mix her passion for food in this place in Bologna. So she decided 10 years ago to buy this place, and with her friend, she visited all the rooms. And you can find there the on-site cafe, which works only during the night hours. It's more like a drink situation.
A drink.
Situation. Yes. Drink night out situation. And they have also an amazing on-site restaurant. Is a must try when you stay there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Wonderful. Okay, we'll take it back to me here where I have firsthand experience. But yeah, again, if you have, I see, is there a raised hand, someone?
No, it was Karen.
Oh.
I see it.
If you have any other properties in Bologna, right, in the city center, please let us know because we're all ears. And of course, with those small boutique properties, sometimes, it's hard to find accommodation. So of course, if we get to the countryside, the options open up. And I wish that Tracy was here to present her property since this is one of her property. So, and Elizabeth, again, it's very new. The grounds are stunning. The grounds are stunning. They have a pool. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because we were some of the first ones to get there. So again, if somebody's wanting to stay in the countryside, I took, my family and kids there, so it was beautiful. The location is countryside, but it's kind of in this small little town. So I'm not like, if I have to be 100% honest, Tracy's gonna, I don't know if she's here, she's gonna kill me. But I have to be honest, right? When you first arrive, you're not like in the middle of the countryside like you are in some of the other places. You're kind of like in front of a canal, and but once you get in, then the space and the country feel really opens up because the grounds are really beautiful and well manicured. But just know that it's not, when you first get up to it, you're like, oh, it seems like I'm going to somebody's house, right? Across from a grocery store. And so it is walking distance to a couple little places. But once you get in, everything you cannot see on the outside, and everything is super beautiful and manicured. So they can organize also cooking classes. But again, Tracy, it's really the best person to tell you more about them. So some of the experiences, and we've kind of again made this presentation to where once we move to some other areas, we'll give you some of the accommodations that we work with in those areas as well. But some of the experiences which I feel like I don't even want to present until I show you our guide. If you work with us, we've created this sensorial guided walk almost in each city that we work in, because I think that it's important, especially where guests have either a limited amount of time or a limited budget, to get a perspective both on the history. Obviously, if it's somebody that just wants the history, then having a history solely focused tour is the right thing to do. But otherwise, the sensorial walk is a perfect introduction to both. It gives you all the food tastings. You're with a very passionate guide that I'll introduce you to in a second. But you're also getting, to visit some of the monuments and some of the main sites. So it can be customized. This is just a very, kind of general description, but for each client based on their needs and their amount of history versus food, we can customize it. So, and where is, I guess we book Caterina after.
Yes, it's after.
Okay.
Yes,
you wanna talk about this one really quick?
So yeah, I mean, if you are going to Emilia-Romagna, maybe you want to try some car. I mean, you are there, you can try Lamborghini or Ferrari. So we have a good experience where you can drink an amazing coffee and after go and ride your Lamborghini and take some picture to say, hey guys, I was there. That's
right. And I think obviously, anybody can do the experience of the test drive of the Lamborghini and the Ferrari, right? So we come up with ways
of drive it, or you can be with a pilot.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But we were thinking about ways, how can we make this experience, more special? And maybe it is combining it with one of the food producers, right? Because of course you can do
Parmigiano and
right, because you can do a full day experience depending if you want to see all the museums and test drive both the Lamborghini and the Ferrari. You can do a shorter experience, but we thought it would be fun to incorporate maybe even a lot of those clients that are doing it, they don't see and drive Lamborghinis and Ferraris every day. So having an actual professional photo shoot taken to capture this experience and have this memory, we thought it was a neat idea. So just know that this is one of those other experiences that it can be customized, of course, once they get to the museum.
It's funny because there is like there is a small war between Lamborghini and Ferrari, because Lamborghini was a tractor producer. So, and he went to Enzo Ferrari to tell him he have a problem with the
Marcia, with the gears.
With the gears, and the guy say, "Go back and produce your tractor." And so he said, "Okay, I'm gonna produce a supercar."
Yeah.
This is how Lamborghini is born.
It was born as a rival to Ferrari. So it's actually quite different to go to both places and experience the pride of both of them. And let's see, there's another experience that it's a little bit out. Oh yeah, but this is just a recap of just doing, the museum. So again, the sky's the limit. There's a lot that can be done depending on the interest of the client. But let me introduce you to our amazing food guide, Caterina, who actually I met her several years ago, and then I saw somebody feed Phil, which is one of the only shows and my favorite shows that I watch. And I was like, I know that person. And she ended up taking Phil around Modena. She's from Modena. Obviously, she covers, Modena, Parma, Bologna. We have a couple different guides because, of course, when we can, we try to get, availability of the guide that it's from that town, even though, like I said, it's a very tight, it's not like Rome and Florence, right? That are completely two different worlds. All those towns are interconnected. Everybody knows each other. So she's really great to cover all three. But yeah, she's amazing. And she really does a great job at within 50 minutes at gauging the client and really pivoting, because we also kind of trust our guides to know, again, we try to get all the information about the clients, what they like, what they don't like. But then Caterina is awesome because sometimes she'll be like, Karen, we ended up like pivoting and doing this and they absolutely love it. And I'm like, great, by all means, go for it. So she's really one of those people that can take what we tell her about the clients and then just make the experience truly extraordinary and tailored to them. So she's one of our favorite. I don't know if anybody. Oh yeah, Katie. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Great. So do you want to talk quickly about Modena?
So yeah, Modena it's smaller than Bologna, and I mean all the area they have a big story. I mean you have the church, you have everything there, the Duomo, you have some small park also, and Modena is famous for Ferrari because it's the town of Enzo Ferrari, the one who create the Ferrari. Yeah, so the big difference between these two towns, there is a little bit less to do, but the good thing about Modena, it's like if you go out 10 minutes, you are in the middle of the food valley and the Motor Valley.
Right. Yeah, so Modena, right, it's a balance because Modena, I would say, at least in our experience, which again is not absolute, but it's a little bit closer to some of the producers that we work with. But again, Bologna maybe adds 15, 20 minutes to the ride. So depending on how long, for longer stays, Bologna may be better, just because to Jonathan's point, there is more to do, but Modena is it's also a really beautiful city. So if people like small towns where they get to visit,
yeah, it's a very cozy town. It's a different. I mean, Bologna, it's more. There is more younger people. Yeah. Here, it's more like aristocratic people. I don't know how to explain that.
Except for when we went running and we saw this party going on Tuesday night, and all these youngsters. I was like, what's going on? But anyways, another story. Yeah, so again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but of course, this sensorial walk, right, depending on how much time clients have, is something that we can organize both in Bologna and in Modena. So depending on the itinerary, we may pick one or the other. If they're staying in Modena, maybe we do that in Bologna because obviously they have more time to explore Modena on their own and vice versa. So let's move on to Casa Maria Luigia. And yeah, this is a very beautiful accommodation. They only have 17 rooms. Massimo even wrote a book called Slow Food and Fast Cars. So that was not our invention, as I'm sure you guys know. And he wrote a book on how he fell in love, him and his wife, Laura Gilmore. They fell in love with this place that was literally sipping. The walls were sipping in vinegar, because there's the Acetaia, next door. And without even thinking about it, like they said, this is our place. And again, this place kind of brings, of course, it's super high end. They don't have stars. I don't know why it says 4, but I would consider it a 5-star, although they don't like to say that they have stars. It is like being in a house, but with all the services of the hotel. There is a very small check-in area, staff is always there, but it's not like there's somebody at the desk when you walk in. You're walking into a house. There's all the rooms with a beautiful art collection.
It's the name, Casa.
Yeah. There's they have a vinyl room, the disc that you can play, that you can pick all the vinyls and play the records on a beautiful record player. The grounds are really nice and really big. There's, of course, a vegetable garden. And he also has his garage with all of his toys. Then guests can just walk into, and, chances are if he's around, you may see him. So they have 2 restaurants, one of which does the Francescana. They do the 9-course tasting menu of their most iconic dishes from Osteria Francescana. Francescana Maria Luigia, which is a little bit easier to get a reservation at than Osteria Francescana in the center of Modena. So it's a really good introduction to kind of his style. I will never forget that meal. And so, yeah, I think somebody that's really looking for the high-end experience, and they love food, They love cars. They like wine. Like I said, there's this acetaia that clients can visit also next door. So it's really one of the best places I've been at in this area.
Let's talk again about food.
Go ahead.
So one of the experience you can have, I mean, we were talking before about the caseificio, the fact that you can see the production of the Parmigiano Reggiano. It's a very, very interesting activity because you discover the cow, you discover the difference between all the cheese, and they show you literally in the morning all the process, how they made the cheese. So you discover all the story, and you can see very the tradition and how it's complicated to have what at the end you just try, and how much time does it takes, and also you discover like the passion there is behind, and also all the high quality there is behind, and that's what's make me impressed by this experience, and the people are very nice there. So
Bioreggiani is one of those few, again, privately owned. When you get there, you're guaranteed to meet the owner. Not for the tour, obviously there's somebody else that does the tour, but when you get to the tasting, almost guaranteed you're going to meet the owner. Of course, it's this very bubbly woman who likes to sit down with you and tell you more about her story and her family. And just to put in perspective, they produce, I don't know if we put it on here, but they produce about 24 wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano per day, which is actually still among the smaller, not the smallest, but still among kind of like the smaller production. Because again, if you make it much smaller, differently from wineries that just produce 1,000, 2,000 bottles a year, it's unfortunately it's not a profitable business, as you can imagine. So they have the cows on site. Also, if you're lucky, and we can check, we can't promise that to the client 6 months in advance, but we can check closer to time. They also raise this cow species called Vacca Bianca, like the white cow. There's only 2 people in the world who have these cows, and according to what the owner has told us, they're the only one that are making the cheese from it. And I have the cheese here. It's incredible.
Yeah,
you can taste it.
It's so different.
Yeah, and of course it's much more expensive because, like I said, they're the only producers in the world. So again, there's a lot of
very hard
differentiators.
to explain the difference on the cheese, but trust me, if you come in Emilia-Romagna, you will just discover you can have so different taste and flavor in different age of cheese. That's impressive.
So lots of differentiators. They're organic. They have a closed filiera. They also self-sufficient. They have a biogas system. They have this slow food presidium of the Vacca Bianca. So among all, and again, I haven't visited all of the dairies in the area, but among the ones that I've had the pleasure, the opportunity to visit, they really stand out because of all these qualities that make them different. You want to talk about La Vedetta? Do you want me to talk?
Let's start. Let's say.
Great. So, and again, these are all the reason why we split those experiences like this is because those are all close by. So if you're doing, just to close that, if you're doing the Bioreggiani and you want to see the cheese actually being made, you have to be there by 8, maybe 8:30 at the latest if you're doing the private experience, because production stops like past 10:30, 11 a.m. So it's really something that you do early, and then you can combine it with another experience.
Because they collect the milk, like they start at 4 a.m. and after they have to use the milk. So.
Yeah. Exactly. So then, it's very common to combine that experience with an acetaia. And this is, again, another great place that it's family owned and run. The owner is always there. And his father, he was one of the directors of Lamborghini. And when he got his liquidation, his payout, when he left Lamborghini, he bought this property and started this family tradition. So the property is amazing. They also have the agriturismo side with some rooms. The rooms are like nice 3+ star level. So again, obviously not something we put on here, but if you have that client that is seeking that authentic experience, they've redone all of their bathrooms, which is something I always pay attention to, especially for an American audience. So just know that that's a possibility. And what's really cool about them is that he plans the crushing of the grapes and he involves clients. During the summer months, he has live music by the pool because they also have a pool. They do those dinners among the olive groves. He also makes the olive oil. So it's a really great, well-rounded like family experience. They can also do cooking classes here. And again, the differentiator, you're always meeting the owner, is taking you around, telling you the story firsthand. So one of our favorite places, and the setting is absolutely stunning. Catch my breath. Do you wanna?
So yeah, so for this one, what is important to understand with aceto balsamico, it's like it's a family tradition because, like we said before, more it's old, more it's better. So that's that. What you need to know. There is also the tradition, like every time a baby born, oddio, si dicono?
What? Jesus, what is...
Fanno la botta.
Oh, yeah. They make a little botte, like what you see here on the
Yes,
right, but obviously
one
small.
of these, but what you can't imagine, it's the oldest one they have. It's more than 150 years.
Yeah.
So
Something in that
it's
range.
and what happened every year they do like a mix to preserve it, and this is very a tradition. Yeah, it's a fantastic story because it's about love and family and to preserve tradition. It's not something you can start tomorrow. It's not
Right.
something who it's very the authenticity of Italy and the best side of this region.
Yeah, what's important to say, and I see that Lisa, you've been here. This is a very different experience than Acetaia La Vedetta,
Yes.
the one we just covered on the exactly. Thank you, Lisa. You preceded me because unfortunately, I say good for them, but unfortunately, they become very popular. These guys, they see that's the owner with the son. They see about 11,000 visitors per year. So group experiences, I would not recommend because even when we went there, like middle of winter, low season, there were people, and of course we were lucky, and the owner and the son took us around, but they got so busy that they no longer take people around, right? So it's more of your typical, you have the staff. Their Acetaia room is actually upstairs. So you have to go up ramps of stairs, which I really do not recommend for people with mobility issues. And even the setting of the villa is not as expensive and as beautiful as La Vedetta. So again, this is an experience because they only produce traditional DOP, so 25 years of aging minimum. They don't do the EGP like La Vedetta does. Most of them produce both. And again, if it doesn't pass the test for DOP, it becomes EGP. They only produce DOP, which is good on one hand, although you're not getting out of there without spending at least 100 euros if you want to buy, two of their little bottles. But there's also a question of, as you guys know, we care about sustainability because what happens to all of the vinegar that doesn't pass the test? And again, this is just me talking, right? Obviously, he's also the president of the consortium, and they make about 20% of all of the DOP traditional balsamic in the area. So I wanted to include it because it's good for you guys to know about it. And I think if you do like a private maybe experience at night with the dinner, when the grandkids are coming home from school, it could be a really great insight because again, this guy, he knows everything and he's the president of the consortium. But keep in mind that the story, right? And it's not something as down to earth and as I don't know. It's just a completely different feeling that what you have at La
Yes,
Vedetta.
but you still have the experience inside his house because he's living there.
Yeah, and like I said, it's really owner and wife and entire family type experience. We had lunch, tasting, and helped with the dishes. That's amazing. I guess you did. Yeah, you did the private experience. So for private experience, if clients have the budget, 100%. For group, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Prosciuttificio, again, another thing within the vicinity. Let's say people, I wouldn't combine more than two experiences, but let's say you want to combine the Bioreggiani with the prosciuttificio, when then you can have lunch. Again, this is one of the few places that has the entire filiera, so they have the animals, and not that you want to see, the process of this being made, like with cheese, but
I don't recommend.
But it is cool to learn about what they feed to the animals, right? How they treat the animals, because this is still, a very small and authentic production.
The before and the after, not the middle.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's actually really hard to find prosciuttifici that are still keeping that closed loop and they still have the animals on site. Most of the times they just buy the meat from the farmers that are raising the pigs. So again, that traceability, it's a little less common. But also here, super flexible. You can do a visit and it's owner run and operated. You can do a visit with a lunch. You can do just a visit and the tasting. So sky's the limit. Everything can be customized. And then probably my first or second favorite with La Vedetta is Acetaia Daniele Malagoli. And despite the name Daniele, who is the father, it's an entirely women-run operations. So Sofia, she is the daughter and star of the show, and her mom does cooking classes as well. So it's really cool. You can even combine Bioreggiani early in the morning just for an hour and a half, and then come here, which is only 10 minutes away from Bioreggiani, and have the full cooking class experience with her mom. Her mom also speaks good English, but she's always there. And then again, do the Acetaia Vese, which is entirely run by women, which is quite extraordinary to me because I haven't visited any other Acetaia where there was so much women involvement. So really beautiful property, their house again, and really off the beaten path. This is by no means it's not as mainstream as the other Acetaia has unfortunately become. So really, really beautiful family. Talk about Parma. Have you been?
Yeah, I've been.
Okay.
So no,
I'll talk about the hotel.
So yeah, so Parma, I mean, it's the three towns are similar but different. Parma, it's a little bit bigger, but what make Parma different, it's more about the story they have about the Ducale and all that stuff. It's more an historic town where you can have a lot of story also about the Italy unification because a part of the unification came from Parma. And yeah, I mean, it's also the place where the prosciutto. I mean, it's hard to say Parma. It's the heart of the culinary experience in Emilia-Romagna, but that's true.
Because they're all made in the countryside.
Yes, they are all
between
made.
all
So
the
a lot of
towns.
places said that, but if you go there, you absolutely have to have a food tour. But you should have a food tour everywhere because the food is amazing. So yeah, it's a little bit more in the north, so it's closer than Milano. So it's also a daily experience because it's like less than 1 hour from Milano. So that's also a good stop for people who are in Milano. So yeah, this is Parma.
Yeah, and Parma and Modena, if I'm not mistaken, they're kind of about the same size. So again, much smaller than Bologna and really authentic. I mean, during the busy season, you can get some day trippers, but especially in the evening, if you have clients staying here, it's a really beautiful, beautiful town that for a 3-night stay, it's perfect. And we do have quite, again, a unique boutique accommodations because, as I was saying earlier, there's not a lot of, your typical 5-star hotels in those towns. Bella Corte, they only have 10 rooms, so very small. It's really cute. They have a little outdoor space. They're right in the middle, even though, like I said, Parma is very small, but they're tucked away on a street. So even on a Saturday night during the busy season, you really don't hear the noise of the nearby restaurants because it's tucked away on a cute little corner. So they have a vertical garden. So again, a little mini place with their own sustainability, and they have also a restaurant and like a vaulted cellar that make this place really unique. Again, it's super small. It's 4-star level. You're not gonna get your spa and your pool and all the amenities that you have if you move a little bit in the countryside. But for somebody who wants to stay centrally located, I would say the Bella Corte and V-Star in Bologna are probably my 2 favorite. We need to get you out of here. We're almost through.
So yeah, just a quick talk. So Parma, it's one of like I said, it's famous for the food. So you have a very all the agronomic school.
Culinary farming school.
Yeah, the farming school, they are all around Parma and in Parma. So that's the reason why a food tour in Parma, it's great to really discover the ham and the Parmigiano. It's a good combo also with a good wine.
Yeah. And again, a lot of the times people don't realize, they're like, I'm in Parma, I can visit a prosciuttificio. No,
Yeah, no, they are not.
The prosciuttificio, are outside of the town, but maybe you have somebody who doesn't have time to go to all the different farmers, then you can have at least a good introduction from the food side in this city. So we're almost through, I promise. I mean,
It's
honestly,
the same about,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Maybe with story.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that's about it. Do you guys have any questions? I know this ran a little bit longer, so we may not have as much time for Q&A, but we tried our best to kind of give you an overview of the region and especially understanding, right, the different type of foods and how to recognize the real quality foods. Do you guys have any questions at all? Nope.
No question.
Great. So the next, what we're gonna do, we're actually taking a break in April just because half of our team is traveling. So we'll see you back hopefully in May, and we really want to talk about another area that I think has so much potential. I know we've already done a webinar on Lazio outside of Rome, but this time we're gonna cover Etruria, so the Tuscia area in Lazio, the Etruscan coast in Tuscany.
We are now in this one of the
Yeah.
center.
Well, this Etruscan tomb, it's a 5-minute bike ride from our office. So really hope to see you guys there. Like I said, we'll send the recording out. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Or also if you have things that you want to bring to us, we're always open to learning from your experiences as well. So thank you guys so much.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Stop share.